So this is Donald Trump and Donald Trump's cabinet's dumbest week. The first thing I want to show you is a situation that came up over the weekend with Venezuelans being deported to El Salvador. We found out about it over sort of, in our time in the weekend that just went. Donald Trump came out over the weekend making it very clear, it's nothing to do with me. It's such fake news. I didn't sign the order. They're now trying to walk that back, saying he wasn't talking about that order. He was talking about the order from 1798, the Alien Enemies Act. Sure you were, Donnie. So let's just have a look, first of all, at Donnie Boy, trying to convince us, people watching, that basically the act has nothing to do with him.
Judge James Boasberg vowed, and I'm quoting him now, "I will get to the bottom of whether they violated my order, who ordered this, and what the consequences will be." He's gotten few answers in the nearly 1 week since those first 2 flights took off from Texas last Saturday. About an hour after that, the judge verbally ordered any planes carrying people being deported under the Alien Enemies Act to turn around. Then he issued the order in writing before any of those planes touched down at their destination, calling for a pause on the entire process.
Yeah, so they hadn't touched down by then. So remember, this is Saturday, so it's Sunday, New Zealand time.
But those planes didn't turn around, and they did eventually land in El Salvador. So as he sought answers today, the judge wanted to know why this proclamation was essentially signed in the dark on Friday night, early Saturday morning. When a reporter posed that very question to the president, Trump said he couldn't answer when the act was signed because he didn't sign it.
I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. Other people handled it. But Marco Rubio's done a great job, and he wanted him out, and we go along with that.
So that's like
moments later,
we've talked about Donald Trump will throw you under the bus. That's him literally throwing Marco Rubio under the bus, like he said he would do. There's another clip which I don't have lined up, but I might be able to find it, that he said we can just blame Marco if we need to. So he's literally doing what he said he would do. Not remember we talked about how Donald Trump does this. So does Brian Tamaki. He will drop you like a hot stone. Nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me.
Trump again deferred to Secretary of State Marco Rubio when he was asked if he could deport people using that same policy right now.
I would say that I'd have the Secretary of State handle it because I'm not really involved in that. But the concept of getting bad people, murderers, rapists, drug dealers, all of these are really some bad people out of our country. I ran on that. I won on that.
Doctors.
However, when it comes to this issue of signature or no signature, if you look at the proclamation invoking this wartime power over the weekend, it's on the White House's website. It is listed as a presidential action, and it reads, by the President of the United States of America. But even further than that, when you look at the version that is filed in the National Register, it bears President Trump's recognizable signature right there at the bottom.
And of course, it wouldn't be AutoPen because we all know that if a president uses AutoPen, that's the worst thing in the world. So that was like 10 days ago, the whole situation. And since then, it's been coming out. So Donald said he didn't sign it. Nothing at all. He's got a problem with that. This is the Midas Touch Network. As you'll know, we're not listening to them. We're going to watch a clip they had because I couldn't find it anywhere else. The problem with that is after he signed it, his press secretary came out and said this.
President Trump signed a proclamation invoking the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by the foreign terrorist organization Tren de Aragua.
So they announced it was signed by him, and then he said he's not signing it. Like I said, they're trying to walk it back, saying the original act to remove these people, the bill that they brought in, the legislation they brought in, they opened up the Alien Enemies Act. It wasn't him who signed that, which is utter nonsense. So what's important for us to do also is find out who are these people that have been deported, as you're saying, Chewie. Right, these dangerous criminals. Here's
they're all rapists and murderers and drug dealers. Every single
we'll
one
look
of
at
them,
that.
Right?
Here's some information on CNN about the kinds of people that got deported, who are Venezuelans, got taken to basically a black ops prison, not in a country that had anything. It would be like someone getting picked up from Hamilton. So an Australian being picked up from Hamilton and taken to Fiji and put in a prison, although you'd be lovely in Fiji, I'm sure, taken somewhere horrifically bad, put in a Thai prison, like where they would put people who do drugs, picked up from Hamilton and taken to a Thai prison. This is the equivalent.
We did some extraordinary reporting this week and obtained the names of the migrants who were sent to El Salvador. That's information that the administration refused to share with the federal judge, but you got it. What did you learn?
We're still investigating every single case on this list of 238 Venezuelan men who were sent to El Salvador to be in prison there. But this is what we know. We know that according to court filings and also our own findings here at CBS News, some of the people on this list do have criminal histories in the U.S. or abroad in countries like Peru, Chile, and Colombia. But we also know that according to the government, many of these people do not have any criminal record in the U.S. And we have received documents from lawyers and attorneys and also the family members of the deportees who say that these people, some of them, do not have any criminal history in the U.S., but the administration is accusing all of them of being part of this transnational gang known as Tren de Aragua. But how that accusation is being made is at the center of this story. The administration says they have used intelligence and other techniques to identify.
Well, there's a lie. Trump administration using intelligence, that's straight away, that's an oxymoron.
These people as suspected TDA members, but their relatives and their lawyers say that some of these men were identified as TDA simply because of tattoos.
That gives us a chance to go a bit further into who these guys are. So, like, there's 238 of them, so there's too many to list up. Here's a couple of examples.
You know, we're in post-Gregorian Reuben.
Excuse me, Samuel. Here's a couple of examples of people they've picked up. Deported soccer player wrongly accused of gang membership over tattoo, lawyer says. A Venezuelan soccer player who was in the US awaiting a ruling on his asylum claim. That means he's in the country legally, because awaiting for a trial, you may not be a resident, but you are legally there awaiting a trial. Claimed was deported to El Salvador under suspicion of being a member of the dangerous gang. And what his attorney said was a misinterpretation of a tattoo. Agents who detained Jers Reyes Barrios, 36, last September said his tattoo was, quote, proof of gang membership, end quote. His attorney, Lynette Tobin, wrote in a sworn statement this week, but the tattoo was a crown sitting atop a soccer ball with a rosary and the word Dios, which means God in Spanish, and was designed to look like the logo for Reyes Barrios's favorite soccer team, Real Madrid. So that's the gang tattoo. It's an homage to Real Madrid. Here's another example. Donald Trump's White House has described the Venezuelan migrants deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador as heinous monsters and terrorists who rape, maim, and murder for sport. But relatives of Francisco Javier Garcia Casque, a 24-year-old from the city of Maracay, said he was a hairdresser, not a crook. He has never been in prison. He is innocent. He has always supported us with his work as a barber, his younger brother, Sebastian Garcia Casque, said from their family home in Venezuela. But, you know, I guess technically he does have like scissors. So maybe that's something to do with it. Chewie, I now want to, this will be the next thing. So that's the first thing about the stupidest week that they've had. Now, one can say mistakes are made, yada, yada, yada. But the second story, which we are going to do on off TVNZ tonight, is that high up officials in the Trump administration started a group conversation on Signal, which I can tell you from experience is like the conspiracy theorists WhatsApp. But what they did was one of them invited a journalist into the group. And then they started talking about secret plans for bombs. Hang on, he's the anti-war president, right? Secret plans for sending bombs into Yemen, whilst the journalist was watching them talk about it. We're going to show you the TVNZ story because the TVNZ story has imagery of the actual texts, where the other story had just had descriptions of it. So have a look. The stupidest week in Trump's administration.
Overseas now, and a stunning breach of national security that could have put American lives at risk. Reaction has been fast and fierce after revelations top US officials inadvertently shared classified Yemen war plans with a journalist on a messaging app. It sparked calls for a top-level investigation and for heads to roll. Corazon Miller reports.
The March 15 attack on the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen was meant to be a top-secret military operation, but its secrecy and the pilots leading it were put in jeopardy by a stunning security failure. The editor of news magazine The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, revealing he was added to a group chat with top-level officials on encrypted but unauthorized app Signal.
They got quite lucky if they're going to pick an errant phone number. I mean, at least it wasn't somebody who supported the Houthis.
Goldberg says he was invited in the days before the attack and watched America's national security team debate striking.
Look at that. Look at the name of people. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. J.D. Vance. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense and part-time anchor on Fox News. You know, Director of National Intelligence, Security of the Treasury, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, White House Chief of Staff, and NSA. Now, those are the people who are talking to one another. What you'll be surprised to hear is that J.D. Vance in particular was like, we won't get involved. Fuck Europe. We don't owe them anything. That's going to come out. And something else that might be in the CNN conversation that's not in this one is this could actually breach, I think it's the Espionage Act. These people could be in breach of the Espionage Act because of using this non-official way of communicating national secrets. Let's have a listen.
The Houthis. Messages show Vice President J.D. Vance was initially opposed because European shipping is more prone to Houthi attacks than US trade.
I just hate bailing Europe out again.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth calling European freeloading pathetic. Then, just 2 hours before the attacks, Goldberg says Hegseth texted precise details of the strikes, which he then watched play out in Yemen. Group reactions to the deadly strikes, words of praise, and
there you go. Literally, Team America. America, fuck yeah. It's literally the icons you would see on Team America, World Police. Literally what you'd see. And that's what these guys are doing to one another.
If this discussion had no emojis, it would be explosive. Somehow those 3 emojis make this whole thing worse for me.
Yeah.
Like, I think it needs to be an aggravating factor.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens from here if there are any charges, which there won't be.
Emojis.
I think we can forcefully say we've never experienced anything like this. Putting classified information in a commercial texting app puts our warfighters at risk, puts our pilots at risk.
The Defense Secretary striking back.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes.
By the way, White House has not pushed back against any of this. The White House has been asked and questioned by reporters. They haven't said this is untrue. It's basically been confirmed. And this is Hegseth now trying to say this reporter can't be trusted. Well, you gave him the information and the White House has basically confirmed it to be real. This would be called covering one's ass if one can.
Time and time again, nobody was texting war plans.
The news apparently surprising President Trump.
I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
Genius.
Opponents
this is not the win that you think it is.
Yeah.
Investigation.
This is one of the most stunning breaches of military intelligence I have read about in a very, very long time. This kind of carelessness is how people get killed.
Critics now asking why a party that pledged to make America's military stronger seemingly did the exact opposite. Corazon Miller, One News.
There you go, Chewie. There, I've got one other little thing to share with you, but it's more of a personal thing. So that is, I'm now entering that for the stupidest week of Trump's administration thus far, and he's only been in about 10 or 11 weeks thus far.
I'm going to start with Chuck Schumer. Surely you're the opposition. You can muster a bit more fire in your belly than someone that seems to be ordering from a drive-through menu.
Yeah.
Like the breach of security, fucking wow. Like Chuck Schumer's a waste of space. Yeah, Trump saying that he doesn't know what's going on. Like
probably the only true thing that was said.
Nobody's told you. Nobody told you. Nobody thinks they need to include you. Nobody thought to warn you that the press was going to ask you about it. But that is your alpha move that we've seen twice tonight. His big defense here is, I don't know. No one told me. I didn't do it. I don't know what's going on. We just attacked another country, apparently on my say-so, but I don't know anything about it.
And what about that?
And
Remember,
maybe,
Mr. No War President, all the other ones have been war hawks. I'm not a war hawk. No wars around me, as he's signing off on bombing in Yemen. There's one other thing. There's one other thing.
Drunk,
there's one other thing I want to add in here, Chewie.
Supremacist.
And you said to us all, did you say it publicly? Maybe you did or didn't, that you weren't going to America next year for various reasons.
Yeah.
I think that's really smart because these kinds of stories are happening every single day. I'm the Canadian who was detained by ICE for 2 weeks. It felt like I'd been kidnapped. I was stuck in a freezing cell without explanation, despite eventually having lawyers and media attention. Compared to others, I was lucky. No explanation, no warning. 1 minute I was in an immigration office talking to an officer about my work visa, which had been approved months before and allowed me, a Canadian, to work in the US. The next, I was told to put my hands against the wall, patted down like a criminal before being sent to an ICE detention center without the chance to talk to a lawyer. It goes on to say that she basically works in California and goes backwards and forwards all the time. Never been a problem. It became a problem. Another story about someone, I think from Sweden, and because that I'm pretty sure it was a she, had some disparaging comments around Trump during the last 12 months. They found them and considered her a danger to come into America. So Chewie, my friend, a good move. That maybe we steer clear of the US for the next 3.5 years. The other thing, though, just to wrap, I thought about this week, because we've got an election coming up next year. I'm like, holy shit, 4 years. 4 years. They've been in for a couple of months. 4 years of this. It's terrifying. I'm done. Chewie.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I was just searching for there's somebody on Blue Sky keeping a list of all of these deportations and stuff like that, and it's a long list, and I think the thing that's concerning is that it's varied. There's comments on that list of someone that works apparently for Homeland Security over there, and he says, I've worked in Homeland for near on 15 years, and I have never seen something like this before. That it is stuff like, so like I when I went to America last year, you have to do an electronic visa and stuff like that. You have to fill out a form, and one of the things that they ask you to put is social media accounts. And that's the thing, they will scan for that. And I was seeing this list and seeing these people that were getting bounced and the reasons that they were getting bounced. That said something disparaging about Trump. And I was like, well, don't look me up. And
hi, welcome
I'm
to
sharing I'm sharing memes about it. I'm doing PHN. I'm standing up for Palestinians and that sort of thing. I'm pro-Ukraine. And now, like, when they can't tell a football tattoo apart from fucking gang membership, I've got tattoos as well. So I was just like, look, I would love to see my American friends. I mentioned this to them. I said, look, I have plans to go to Tennessee next year. I can't risk it. Yeah. I'm not going to. And all of them went, that's a shame, but we understand. Yeah. I think there were figures that came out that said how, like, one of America's big tourism drives is Canada. And the trips across the border from Canadians has dropped through the floor. And that is trillions of dollars of tourism income from Canada gone.
And just think, I mean, this is not this has been going on, but I remember, if you've seen the documentary Sicko, Michael Moore, he spoke to Canadians way back then. That would have been in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. And there was people who would be coming across because the Detroit's about as far north as you can go in that part of the world. It's quite close to a Canadian city, and there's quite a lot of daily trips backwards and forwards between Detroit and this part of Canada. And this couple would not enter America without taking out health insurance and litigation insurance just across the border. So it's never been good, but now it's just extra bad.